Well, good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday morning, and welcome, pardon me, welcome back to Morning Musings. My name is Don K. Preston. I'm the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma, and I really appreciate you being with me. Okay, here it is Wednesday. I have managed to make videos Monday and Tuesday, and obviously here today. My voice, I am thrilled to say, is slowly getting better. You may notice a little bit of improvement even as I speak this morning. It's not where it needs to be, not where it has to be, but it is getting better. Uh, so here's my plan, okay? I will not be producing videos Thursday or Friday. And next week, next Tuesday, is the 4th of July, of course. And so I'm going to continue to allow my voice to rest both Monday and Tuesday of next week. So beginning tomorrow through Tuesday of next week, I won't be producing a video. I'm hopeful, very, very hopeful, that by Wednesday of next week, I'll be able to sort of kind of get back into the groove. I hope to be able to get with Mike Sullivan so that we can continue our examination of Doug Wilson's attack on covenant eschatology, as I hope, no promises, but I hope I'll be able to continue my examination of Steve Gregg's book, Why Not Full Preterism. So that that's my plan at this time, all right? I'm just thrilled to have been able to produce videos for 3 days this week. I won't be able to do the program with Daniel Rogers tonight, obviously. I can already feel the issue with my voice this morning. So, listen, let me say once again how much I appreciate all of the kind remarks, the prayers, the concern from so many of you, both here on YouTube as well as on Facebook. I am doing some of the remedies, suggestions that have been made. I'm just doing what I can, and it is what it is. I told my wife yesterday morning as we went to breakfast, and I told her, I said, this is really, really frustrating. See, I went through a period some years ago, several years ago. The doctor found some nodules on my vocal cords, and he prescribed total rest, no preaching for 6 months. And so I had to do that. At the end of 6 months, nodules were gone. And by the way, same thing happened to my dad. So I certainly don't want to run that risk again. So I'm going to have to be very, very careful. But nonetheless, doing the very best that I can. Okay, I want to get back into our study this morning. I believe I have established sufficiently that Matthew chapter 25, 31 and following, point number 1 is about the fulfillment of God's Old Covenant promises made to Old Covenant Israel. And with that being true, it is confined to fulfillment in the first century. I have demonstrated that Matthew 25, 31 and following is paralleled in Revelation chapter 20. I'm more than aware that there are those dispensationalists who disagree with that. But the arguments, the arguments that are given in order to sustain that dichotomy are simply untenable. It is a massive appeal to what I call, and yes, I invented the term, the missing word hermeneutic, the different word hermeneutic. That says, and the argument is made, again by dispensationalists, that, well, look, in Revelation chapter 20, you have the judgment of the dead. Matthew chapter 25 doesn't mention the dead. And that's supposed to be a reason, that's supposed to be an argument for seeing that Matthew 25, 31 and following is different from Revelation 20. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a horrible, illogical, and fallacy. It's a logical fallacy. It imposes a journalistic rule that's basically just made up. It's not in any of the hermeneutical books. that says anytime that a writer, or speaker for that matter, is talking about subject X, and he's talking about subject X over here, okay? And he lists, all these constituent elements in his discussion of subject X. Well, then he comes over here in a different book, written at a different time, but still discussing subject X. But here in this other book, he doesn't list some of the constituent elements that he did over here in the very first place. And that's supposed to mean that over here in this other book, it has to be a different subject from over here. Who made up this rule? This is one of the most illogical, ill-informed, irrational, quote, rules that could possibly be imagined. And yet, that's the basis upon which dispensationalists try to draw a distinction between Matthew 25 and Revelation chapter 20. There's no basis for this rule, ladies and gentlemen. It does not allow a writer to look at things from a different perspective in text A than he is discussing in text B. Who made up this rule? Again, it is extremely illogical. So, I've shared with you yesterday, and I want to do so today as well, to demonstrate that Matthew chapter 25, which is the coming of the Lord for the judgment, the gathering of the nations, etc., which I don't mean to be unkind here at all. Anyone ought to be able to see that's an end of the millennium issue. The coming of the Lord for the judgment and the resurrection. I know resurrection is not mentioned specifically in Matthew 25. That doesn't mean it's not there. It's the parousia. It's the erchomai. It's the coming of the Lord for the gathering of the nations. Now, I could have a whole lot to say about that. The gathering of the nations is the time of the resurrection of the dead. I may make a video on that. Anyway, so I'm demonstrating that Matthew chapter 25 and Revelation chapter 20 are the same end of the millennium time and events. Well, I shared with you yesterday how some claim that Revelation chapter 20, verses 1 to 4, is about the beginning of the millennium, while Revelation chapter 20, 10 and following, is about the end of the millennium. Well, I certainly agree that Revelation 21 to 4 is the beginning of the millennium. I certainly agree that Revelation chapter 20, 10 and following is the end of the millennium. But here's the question. Those who are attempting to see a delineation tell us that Revelation 21 and 4 was fulfilled in AD 70. Now, this is a brand new argument, and I've got some friends who take that position. I categorically disagree with it. So let's take a look at it. In Revelation chapter 6, what do we find? Well, verses 9 and following, I saw the souls of those who had lost their lives. I saw under the altar the souls of those who had given their lives for the word of God and the testimony which they held. Okay? And they cried out, "How long, O Lord, holy and true, do you not avenge us on those that are on the earth?" And white robes were given unto them. Now here I want you to catch the power of what they're being told. To rest for a little while until their fellow brethren and saints, who should be slain as they were, should be fulfilled. So the enrobement, as I call it, signaled for the martyrs, those who had been slain for the word of God, signaled that they were to wait for their vindication. When would their vindication come? At the coming of the Lord, the great day of God's wrath of Revelation chapter 6, 12 to 17. Now, I'm not going to take the time to exegete Revelation 6, 12 to 17, but it's unequivocally the great day of God's wrath. So, martyrs crying for vengeance, enrobed and told to rest for a little while until the fellow number of martyrs would be fulfilled. By the way, didn't Jesus have something to say about when the number of the martyrs would be fulfilled? Matthew 23? Yeah, in his generation. That defines the little while of Revelation 6. So, we have the martyrs crying for vindication, enrobed, given their robes, told to rest for a little while until their vindication. When the number of martyrs was filled, the Lord would come and vindicate them. The enrobement was not their final vindication. Please catch the power of that. When they received their robes, they had to wait for their vindication at the day of the Lord. So we come to Revelation chapter 20. John says, I saw those who had been beheaded for the word of God. And they were seated on thrones. And they ruled and reigned with Christ for 1,000 years. Well, we are told that's Revelation 20, 1 to 4, was fulfilled in AD 70. Let's use the missing word hermeneutic here, okay? Because, after all, the missing word hermeneutic is constantly employed by those who oppose covenant eschatology. Well, this text says this, but this text doesn't say that. Okay, well, Revelation chapter 20 doesn't mention the coming of the Lord. Doesn't mention filling up the measure of sin. So they must be different events from Revelation chapter 6. But wait a minute. If you're going to identify Revelation 20, 1 to 4 as AD 70, then you are thereby identifying it as the time of the vindication of the martyrs. But the time of the vindication of the martyrs is the time of the coming of the Lord. That means that Revelation 6 and Revelation 20 are in fact parallel. You're demanding that Revelation 20, 1 to 4 is in fact the coming of the Lord for the vindication of the martyrs. Well, wait a minute. Who is the persecutor in the book of Revelation? Oh, it's the devil. Revelation 2:10, as I shared yesterday. It's Satan, the adversary. Revelation chapter 12. It's Babylon. Well, wait a minute. When is Satan, the persecutor, destroyed and thus the martyrs vindicated? Folks, look, you can't have the destruction of Satan without the vindication of the martyrs. So where does the vindication of the martyrs take place? Okay, destruction of Satan. When does the destruction of Satan take place? Well, it's not Revelation 21 to 4. It's at the end of the millennium. Revelation 20, 10 to 12. Do you see the train coming here, ladies and gentlemen? Revelation 6. The martyrs were given robes, told to rest until the full number of the martyrs would be fulfilled. Coming of the Lord, the judgment. Vindication. Vindication against their persecutors. How long, O Lord, do you not avenge us on those who dwell on the earth? They want to be avenged. Well, the avenging wasn't taking place when they were given the robes. They had to wait for the vindication. Revelation 20, the martyrs are enthroned. But you see, we're told that's their vindication, which means it's the vindication of Revelation chapter 6. But wait a minute. Wait a minute. That means that Satan, their persecutor, was actually destroyed at the beginning of the millennium. Look, folks, the vindication of the martyrs, their final vindication, that was to come in a little while, was not going to take place at the binding of Satan. It would take place when Satan was destroyed. That's the time of vindication. Now, what that means is that Revelation 6 and Revelation chapter 20 are in fact directly parallel. By the way, many commentators, world-class commentators, agree that Revelation 6, Revelation 12, Revelation 20 are in fact directly parallel. Men such as G.K. Beale take that position. They just don't see the implications of it, or they refuse to acknowledge the implications of it. Because if Revelation 6 and Revelation 20 is all about the vindication of the martyrs, and it clearly is, ladies and gentlemen, then that means that the end of the millennium came in AD 70. That means that Revelation 20 and Matthew 25, 31 and following are in fact parallel. Same time, same event. Unless, once again, you can prove that Matthew 25, 31 and following has nothing whatsoever to do with martyrs and martyr vindication, or, oh, wait a minute, it does have something to do with the coming of the Lord, doesn't it? But the coming of the Lord is for the vindication of the martyrs. You see, you can't create these false dichotomies, these false divisions in subject matter. If the coming of the Lord is for the judgment, the vindication of the martyrs, then since Matthew 25:31 is the parousia, then it's for the vindication of the martyrs. And it happened in the first century, as Matthew 23 proves beyond a shadow of a doubt. Okay, out of time for today. Listen, do not forget, and I want to thank you so very, very much for the response to the introduction of my brand new book. These are the days when all things must be fulfilled. I appreciate the response to that so very, very much. Regular price, $18.95 plus $4.95 shipping. Okay? For the rest of this month, June 2023, U.S. orders only, and the entirety of the month of July 2023, U.S. orders only, your total delivered price is $16.95. Go to my website, donkpreston.com, BibleProphecy.com. There's a beautiful banner right up at the very top. Save yourself right at $8, okay? It's over $7, right at $8. By ordering the book now, because here's the deal. At the end of July, the price will probably go up. Well, I know I can't do the special after that. My publisher has already announced that publishing costs are going up. They already have to a certain extent. Shipping cost has gone up. So everywhere we turn, the price of everything is going up. So take advantage of the offer now while you still can. Okay, let me just say here, please have a fantastic and safe 4th of July, celebrating what wonderful liberties and freedoms we have in our country. I'll see you next week.